But what else are they going to find on the property aside from criminal evidence, maybe bodies buried, the illegal removal and positioning of ancient sacred petroglyphs? Well, Catherine Fitz is an expert who used to work in the Bush administration looking for illegal funding or slush funds, illegal money, financial appropriation and things like that, where they would overcharge for different things in regards to real estate, property renovations and different things like that. And then those funds would be used for secret activities or illegal actions. And Catherine Fitz went on the Tucker Carlson podcast, and she actually had this to say about the amount of underground tunnels and secret bases, military facilities, underground. It's like a split off civilization, a separate society that is underground, an entire underworld that has been constructed using this illegal financial operations and strategies. Let's listen to what she had to say.
One of the things that I've looked at, because I'm trying to figure out, when between fiscal 1998 and fiscal 2015, there were 21 trillion of undocumentable adjustments in the U.S. government. If you go to our website, missingmoney.solera.com, we have years and years of documentation, including the government financials that show this. And so the question is, where's all this money going? And one of the things I've looked at in the process of looking at where all this money is going is the underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. And
I'm sorry?
Yes. So we have built an extraordinary number of underground bases and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are some of these are documented as part of the national security infrastructure. I think there are many more. So
in the United States?
In the United States, and all over the world. But from 2021 to 2023, I took one of the smartest subscribers in the Solera Report network, and he and I spent 2 years collecting all the data and all the allegations on underground bases. And then we systematically went through and tried to estimate our guess. This is totally a guess of how many underground bases, both underground in the United States, but also underground under the ocean around the United States. And our estimate was 170 with a transportation network connecting them.
And what would be the purpose?
The purpose, if you thought you were going to get a near extinction event, so there, to me, there are two purposes. You have so many activities going on that you need to keep secret, that you're basically building the capacity to, for example, if you're doing a secret space program, you need to platform it from, things that can't be seen. But I think if you're worried about a near extinction event, that's...
So I know nothing about this other than my only window into it. I knew a contractor who worked on one in Washington, in the city of Washington, D.C.
Right.
And I remember him telling me about a power box, like a transformer box on Constitution Avenue that he told me, because he worked on it personally, was actually the exit, the egress from White House. That was kind of by vehicle. I thought that was, I was like, really? He goes, oh yeah, no, I installed it, I know. And I thought, well, that's kind of crazy that in the middle of this big city where I lived I was on Constitution Avenue every day, that you could build something like that without me knowing it. Under the VP's house at the Naval Observatory, same thing. I think most people know that. Next to my brother's house on Macomb Street in D.C. But that's, I always thought that was like preparation for nuclear war. Like, I didn't really think about it that much.
Some of it is, yeah. It's preparation for catastrophe.
So, but you think that there are facilities like that in other places outside D.C.?
Oh, yeah. So if you're interested, we have a great interview. I did an interview of Richard Dolan on underground bases on the Solera Report, and it's sort of an introduction to the topic, and it's based on a lot of the research of a guy named Richard Sauter, who is very hard to interview. So Richard kind of went through all the material. And clearly I don't know if you ever saw, Washington Post did a project, it was in 2010 or 12, called Top Secret America. And one of the reporters, it was a team of 2 reporters, one of them put together a database of all the different top secret installations that had been built in the country, including since the Patriot Act.
So, but you believe that there's a whole constellation of underground bases built by the U.S. government in the United States. Like that fact alone, just the physical infrastructure of it, because normally talk about what are they doing?
It's enormously expensive.
Well, it's unbelievable. And like it raises lots of practical questions. How do you ventilate them? What about food and water supply?
Where's the energy? Are we using breakthrough energy or?
Where's the energy come?
Right. Because I'm sure that we have the ability to produce breakthrough energy at very low cost. If you go back.
Why are you sure of that?
My Dutch partners, I met because they were doing a series of conferences on breakthrough energy. And they brought together breakthrough energy inventors from around the world. And, you can see all the videos up on the internet and really went through the history from Tesla on of different inventors who have discovered and claimed different innovations with breakthrough energy. And I'm convinced that this energy exists. And I'm also convinced if you look at a lot of the really fast ships, flying around the planet, that they're not using classical electricity.
They're not using.
Right. So,
they're not running on diesel.
Right. Exactly. Right. So.
Yeah. So we know that I'm sorry I get so caught up in the details, but we know that there are quite a number of large underground bases in the United States. We can state that as fact.
Right.
And then the question becomes, of course, like if they're connected to the power grid, if they're pulling off just a conventional natural gas electricity generation station, you could know that and measure it. But you think they have independent energy sources? Of course they do.
So one of the questions I have that I think is really important is when you look at breakthrough energy, if you are running the planet. So I have this nickname for the committee at the top, Mr. Global. If you were Mr. Global, you would not want to implement breakthrough energy on a widespread basis for a variety of reasons, one of which is everybody got a hold of it and weaponized it. It could be very dangerous.
Why?
My understanding is that literally one small group of people could take this, with no sovereign powers or, just organized crime and use it in a way that could weaponize it and make it very dangerous. I'm not a scientist. I don't really understand.
Right, but energy by definition is dangerous. Gasoline's dangerous.
Right.
Right, electricity's dangerous. Of course, nuclear energy's dangerous.
Right, but if you're the risk manager and you're in charge of managing the planet, this has more disruption capability, both weaponization, economic. Suddenly everybody's free to do whatever they want, and so they're much harder to control. So if you're Mr. Global and you have the capacity to dramatically lower the energy cost, the other danger is then population skyrockets, and you're concerned about that. So if you're Mr. Global and you're worried about what will happen if you bring this technology out, it's very convenient to get complete control. If you don't trust the population to be environmentally responsible or politically responsible, then complete control.
So I decided to do a search through the e-files for the keywords tunnel. And this document is absolutely shocking. It's an official FBI document regarding Epstein and his criminal activity, but it details out a phone call or report that came in 2020 that talks about a witness who was a victim of Jeffrey back in the 1980s, in 1981 and 1982, and Ghislaine Maxwell. And it talks about how they were trafficking people to Little St. James and the property at Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. And it talks about big underground tunnels. It says that the entire plane flight was an actual F-fest, and that people were abused on the entire flight to and from New Mexico and Little St. James. It describes the building, the blue and white structure at Little St. James. It may have mistakenly said that there is also a similar type of location in New Mexico that is built the same way on a possible island. But it says that there is a child's body buried under the building. And this is just absolutely shocking. It says there's a child buried under the building, and it's a mausoleum underneath a small building in New Mexico. This also says that there's a location in Arkansas where they were taken, where there was a massive tunnel, a concrete structure. It says, it showed that there was a tunnel. They took her inside of a big tunnel system. It was really big, and it was in the side of a mountain in Arkansas, of all places. It says the entrance to the tunnel runs about 1,000 feet wide. You can drive right up to it. It's like a giant parking garage, but it's underground, and the pillars are wider than a normal parking garage. It says that they drove about 50 feet in there, and they took pictures of inside of the tunnel. It says that nothing did not reflect any light. And it even says that while they went in the tunnel in 1981 in Arkansas, that she was only 21 years old, and that they were ghost hunting, that they were looking for ghosts, and that no one could find him. It's just so crazy that this file came out. This is file EFT A012494448. So you can look this file up yourself and see the official FBI report. There are multiple documents that pop up, like over 80 pages of documents when you type in the keyword search tunnel. And it has to do a lot with renovations and construction on these tunnel systems. Multiple different files talking about repairing tunnels, putting workshops and buildings in the tunnels, and it even references this Las Vegas company that does lasers and laser sculptures, and how they're talking about this person, Sarah, to Jeffrey, says, you should contact this company in Las Vegas about putting in a laser system in the tunnel so that they could make it more spooky or something like that. But there's this Las Vegas company with videos on their website still who is contracted to install laser systems in these tunnels for the atmosphere or whatever effect that they're doing. But multiple files and emails back and forth about underground tunnel systems. Absolutely shocking and totally plausible that these things exist. So there you have it, guys. We've covered the entire connection now between this possible breakaway civilization, a small group of people that are well-funded, that have secret access to these locations like Zorro Ranch and Little St. James, the possibility of underground tunnel systems, the interest in secret physics and energy sources, propulsion systems, anti-gravity, all of that connecting back to possible UFO research, like Eric Weinstein says in that initial interview with Pierce Morgan. And also the interest that Jeffrey had in ancient petroglyph sites. All of this ties together like a tapestry, and it's all converging. And so this idea that talking about UFOs is a distraction from the e-files is totally not valid. It's all on the playing field. It's all tying together, and it's all relevant. It's something that we need to keep our finger on the pulse of. We need to see how these puzzle pieces all come together, and we can't take our eye off of it, because as more things come out, we have to figure out, where are these underground tunnel systems? What were they doing under there? What is the technology that's being kept secret? And how does this fit in with ufology and all of that news that's coming out with the president announcing that UFO disclosure is supposed to happen? As always, thanks for watching. Carl Crusher, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.